Good to go. We can't see you, Rich, for whatever that's worth, but I don't know if you have to turn on your video or what.
No, I found out I'm copyrighted. So you need to see me.
Cool.
I'm so famous. I'm eating dinner, so I wasn't going to make you watch me eat. So are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Oh, go ahead, Tammy.
Sure. Bill just wanted me to point out that under new business is actually a duplicate of the financial business review. So you can see that he's got the financial business at the top of the menu, but that's also duplicated at the bottom under new business. So we can just slash that part of the agenda.
If it's so good, we'll have to have it twice. Somebody brought in an apple pie that's out in the back room that's calling my name. So that's why I did that, so we can do that at that time. And then also, I don't have here, and I don't know how we missed it, is we have to, under new business, we have to appoint a proxy for us for the VSBA stuff.
You mean, isn't it the VEHI that we have to do?
It's whatever. I don't remember what it is, but we gotta do something. So we'll have to appoint a proxy for something.
Probably for both.
No, it's only one, I think, because one of them is only through the central office. So, okay, if there's nothing else, we'll move on. Members of the public, Mike Jones, I see is there. Amelia, are you public or are you the Deerfield Valley News?
She's the Deerfield Valley News. That was going to be my comment. Amelia's going to be here in my place. I'm expecting a baby in the next few weeks. So I'll be doing that for a little while and she'll be here with you all.
Cool. Well, congratulations. Thank you, Amelia.
Good luck, Lauren.
Everybody wave hi to Amelia. Cool. Congratulations to Lauren. Hope everything goes well.
Thank you. I'll show up with a newborn at some point.
Okay, you and Kate can fight for cutest kid, and then I'll have a puppy or something. Hi, Rick. How are you? So we got members of the staff. I see a couple staff members, but they're not lit up. So it's all Jennifer is. Anything from the staff? Okay, hearing none, I'll go to review and approve the minutes of the October 5th meeting. Bill just sent those out. They were late, I guess. Are you guys ready to vote on that, or do we need to I'm back online. Do we need to postpone that?
I have one comment about it.
Okay. Is everybody else ready to vote?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, Mark, why don't you make a motion and you can have first comment.
Sure. I move that we approve the minutes of October 5th, 2020.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Laura seconds it. Go ahead, Mark. What was your comment, sir?
Just at the very end under the list of next meetings, the October 29th meeting is the VSBA annual meeting, not the WCSU annual meeting.
October 29th.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, the VSBA or the Wyndham Central meeting's October 28th.
Correct.
Perfect. Okay. So with that correction, hang on one second, Peter. Laura,
Okay, I'll correct it. Thanks.
since you got second, you get to have the second comment.
I'm good.
Cool. Peter, you're all set, you said?
10-4.
Thank you. Is there any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Sounds like it's a unanimous vote. It is a unanimous vote. So the minutes of the October 5th meeting were approved. I submitted with the one change in the meeting. I have no correspondence. Matt or Tammy, are you aware of any correspondence I missed? Good, they're both shaking their heads. Hey, right to Lori. I see Lori was here. Hi, Lori. So you get the financial review for the first quarter update.
Yeah, so Matt, is it possible for you to pull that up?
Yes, you remind me what you want to have pulled up, Lori.
Sure, it's the financial statement. It's called the RVUSD year-to-date expense report. I can resend it to you right now.
I have A and T.
If everybody has it, do we need to put it up?
It's up to you. I'm fine without it. I can talk through it. Or people have questions, we can talk through questions.
Does anybody need it put up, or does everybody have it?
I think it would be helpful to have it up, Richard. You just have to monitor the chat for
We're
hands
not
up.
supposed to have, chat's not supposed to be.
No, just the participants window for hands up.
Yeah, okay. Matt, if you can get it up. Lori, if you want to start talking about it till Matt gets it up.
I gotta
Sure.
find, Lori, I just need to find, I see the AP and payroll voucher, but I don't see any email with what you described.
Just sent it to you,
Oh, minutes ago.
like seconds ago.
Seconds ago.
Seconds ago. All right, so overall, I mean, we're only 3 months into the year, and really only, a month and a half into school. So, it's early yet to make any type of predictions, but things are being encumbered. And right now you're running pretty far ahead of things. One variable that's always a big variable is the secondary students. We know that there are some additional secondary students, I believe, for this year that we're not budgeted for. So, that number may be overspent, but right now, you're looking pretty good as far as expenses, and revenues pretty right on as well. Medicaid's $28,000 of revenue, and that really is really an unknown right now, because Medicaid billing is up in the air, to be honest with you. We will get some money, we just don't know what the remote learning billing will look like, basically. So that may be a little different. And then tuition income, I'm not sure, I haven't had a good chance to talk with Lori O'Hearn in particular for Dover tuition for kids coming in to Dover, paying to come to Dover, and to see what that is looking like. I think she's getting ready to send out those tuition bills as well, so we'll have a better idea on that. So going down through expenses, does anybody have any questions on any, comments that I put on here, or anything in particular? Pre-kindergarten is running ahead of budget right now, but there will be some Act 166 tuition coming in. So again, that depends on where there are more students that moved into the area that are in that we pay the 10 hours of pre-K for or not. So that remains to be seen at this point. Elementary, we do have one personnel savings, that a position that was not filled in that. Then, continuing down through, there's really nothing that is surprising to me at all at this point. Supplies are, some of the supplies in direct instruction are overspent, and a lot of that is COVID money, which I'll talk about after we review this. I'll come back to the COVID money. There's also some overspending in the operation of buildings, you'll see, and that again is a lot of COVID issues going on there. And you can see, you know, $245,000 has been encumbered. That is, let's see, operation of buildings is about halfway down the page. Sorry, I can't, I'm trying to look at my sheet here. I should be looking at this sheet. Matt, why don't you keep going down? Sorry. That's why I'm looking at my sheet and I should be looking right here. Okay, there we go. Operation of buildings. So there you can see where there's a lot of COVID related expenses that have been encumbered or have been spent to date. So that line item is pretty far over at this point. So that being said, the Efficiency Vermont COVID money will be covering 100% of your eligible HVAC repairs, which so far up to $250,000. So far, I believe everything but your air filters. And I think there's an HVAC update coming later in the agenda. So maybe Bill will be switching back over here and he can talk a little bit more about that. But so far, all of this will be reimbursed at 100%. There are other COVID related supplies, you know, tents and different furniture that was purchased. All of that is coming out of a different COVID CRF grant. And that grant has not been issued yet, but it is in review, and we expect, according to the AOE, to receive most all of the money back on those as long as they're eligible costs. And so far, I haven't had anybody from the AOE come back and ask. They asked one question that I had about custodian travel, but it's because we have an additional custodian and and River Valleys doesn't, but in West River that travels between buildings. But I had to apply for the COVID money as an SU, not as just River Valleys. Is there any questions on the COVID HVAC money piece of things, not necessarily the repairs?
I had a question from before this. I don't know if
Sure,
we wanna
let's
wait
go
until
back
we get to
before
the
we go
end.
forward. No, let's go back before we go forward.
it was just one, and I don't know that it's for you. Well, it's for you or Matt or Tammy. Just remind me the position that was unfilled. One more, I think.
I think that's in Matt's building. Nope, you're right there.
Yeah.
So if I'm correct, there was an academic support position that was advertised for and was not filled based on lack of applicants.
Matt, no, that's the academic support is in that purchase service right there. And that would be the person that's in your building.
I thought it was the art position we didn't fill.
What?
It
No,
could-
the art position is filled.
No, the art position hasn't been filled yet.
Right, that one has not been filled yet, but this is a teacher position here.
Well, I thought the art person was in the teachers now.
Nope, it's down here in art, see right here. Oh, down a few. Right there, that has not been filled. Matt and Tammy and I are meeting actually tomorrow afternoon to review this. We didn't get a chance to before, and then look towards fiscal year 22 budget. So we'll review that. Matt, we'll talk about that as far as the AST is concerned.
Rich, I've got a couple of questions also.
Go ahead for Lori.
All right. Under revenues, very simple question, I think. Line 42,000, about midway through the revenues, it says revenues from inter sources. What is or are inter? sources?
42,000. I don't see the 42.
It's in the local section.
What, for the $2,200?
Well, I'm just more interested in what it means. That looks like it's only a partial word.
Sure. Yeah, no, it's the coding that comes through from the AOE. But it means just other revenue sources that are coded as a 4,200 versus a 4,500. I think what that is some, I'll have to go back and look at the thing. I believe it was some just additional revenue, maybe small grants that came through that we planned for.
The 2,200.
Yeah, right.
Okay. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say the one underneath it is from reserves, that 45,000 number. There you go.
So the other sources includes taking it. Oh, I see. You have reserves in the notes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then sort of a technical question. What is the difference between an adopted budget and a current budget?
It's a good question. So many school districts or supervisory unions, they'll adjust their budget and do budget transfers. We have never been in the practice of doing that. You know, we stay with the budget, but there are times when other school districts may say, okay, we know we're going to underspend in this particular line item, so we're going to move the budget to another line item that we want to overspend. So this report just reflects that. So if we made any adjustments to the budget, for example, let's see, if it's mainly in expenses, you probably wouldn't see it very often in revenue. But in expenses, Matt, if you just scroll for me for a second there, let's just say we know that we're not going to spend this employee benefit, the 5,200 here, either one, doesn't matter which one. Yeah, right there. Let's say we're not going to spend that and we know it, but we're going to overspend in other purchase services, right? So we could adjust the budget. The board could request that, or we could make a decision to do that, and then we would lower one budget and, you know, increase another budget, and it would show up in that column.
Okay, so that would not change the bottom line of the voted budget, though.
That's correct. That's
okay.
correct. Yeah.
Then one other quick question. You mentioned having applied for CRF funds through the SU, and then you mentioned a secondary part of that. It sounded like, were you referring to the ESSER funds? Have you applied for those?
No, we've been granted ESSER funds, but I have not put in an application yet. So the recommendation really is to use all of the other COVID funds before you tap into ESSER funds, because COVID funds have to be spent by 12/31. So anything after that could be put, as long as it's eligible, could be put into the ESSER fund. So for example, if a nurse was hired, an additional nursing time, it would be paid out of one grant, the CRF LEA funds, through December 31st. And then we could move that expense for the remainder of the year, or until the ESSER funds, you know, were exhausted, into that grant. So right now I'm in a holding pattern to find out how much CRF LEA funds that we're going to receive and how I can use those best before December 31st.
Okay, thank you. That's why I wanted to know whether you had applied for those for that reason.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Richard. May I ask, you're muted. Can I ask one more question? I'm looking at you.
Ask all the questions you want, Laura. We're here for the whole night.
Yeah, just one more. Lori, Does it make any difference in terms of decisions or recommendations if that deadline gets moved to December 31st?
Yes, I would
So,
say that. Yeah, I would say it would
Okay.
be, we would plan differently on how to use those ESSER funds if the date got pushed back.
Okay, and how much time would you need to roll out another plan?
Well, that's a little hard to say just because we don't know. We don't have a grant agreement for the basic CRF funds yet, so it's a little bit hard to know exactly if everything I applied for is going to be approved or not. So that's, but I expect that in the next month or so. So I would say once I knew that, I could begin to make a plan if the date got pushed out.
And
So whenever that happens, which I would
Okay.
expect by the end of October, beginning of November, that we'll have that grant solidified.
Okay. Do you have all of the permissions that you need to alter your plans if there's a date change?
I have all the permissions.
Do you need any board approvals? Super board, this board?
Right. No, I think that at this point, everything I've applied for is money that is either was proposed by the principals to spend or reimbursed for things that have already been spent. So I think that in the COVID situation, what the principals are requesting to spend over and above their budget, they are doing that knowing that most likely, probably 95 to 98% will be reimbursed.
Okay.
So I don't think that we do have to get to the conversation of the car for the food program, and that I do need some board action on.
The other thing is, I mean, we're meeting twice a month too, and I can't see them coming up and saying you got to have a decision by tomorrow, because I mean, there's not another school district that's is on the ball as Wyndham Central is. So
If we do say so ourselves, Mr.
yeah, and I
Chair.
just said so. So I mean, but if you look at that report, we're going to review at the Wyndham Central meeting too. It says the office is a very high functioning office. So I mean, I'm not going to worry. And again, it's like back in the summer, we have to spend it. We're going to spend it. I mean, the adjustment thing that Mark brought up, we don't have line item responsibility. We have bottom line responsibility. So it makes no sense at all to ever adjust a budget, because then the following year you have nothing to base it on if you're just going to move numbers around. It's hard for people to follow from year to year. Our policy has always been, if we have to spend money on something, we have to spend it. We don't have a choice. I mean, we're not going to say if Matt needs something to run the school or Tammy, we're not going to say you can't have it because the money's not there. We're going to have to figure out, we'll get it, and then we'll figure out where the money comes from later. And, that's one of the reasons too, to have a reserve fund. So, and Laura, but those are good points. And I think things are going to continue to change too. I mean, even with the election coming right up, and after the election, I'm sure there'll be a lot of stuff getting changed from what we did over the summer too, as they look and see where the money's at and what they're going to do with both the federal and the state level. I mean, remember, if you go back to April, May, the state was predicting a shortfall in the ed fund of what, $250 million, $300 million, and it's not quite as bad as it was. So I think this is, and like Lori said, we're only into the first quarter, so I think Lori looks good. I mean, if you're not concerned, I'm not concerned. No,
I mean, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, and Laura, that your point about dates and having lead time when I think about it, I think that it is a short window. You're right. In fact, that here we are in, almost the end of October, and this money needs to be spent out. And I think, putting in a plug for moving that date is a great idea, because we don't want to have to send money back to the federal government, right? I mean, that really is one of the,
Oh, yeah. I mean, that plug needs to head all the way down to Washington, DC. So let's not hold our
Exactly.
breath.
and it's, we have a lot of responsible people in our district that don't want to spend money just to spend money, right? And certainly to spend the money in this short of a time is, you're reacting instead of making a plan. So it would be nice to be able to make a better plan with a longer runway, but
Yeah.
But so right now, as I'm looking at this, the end result here, 1.8 million after all the salaries have been encumbered, after all of the HVAC has been encumbered. If you spend out the 1.7 million of secondary tuition, and then some other expenses, so you're still looking at a $200,000 surplus. But again, we are in the first quarter. This could be very different next quarter, but I believe you're on track. There's nothing in there that looks worrisome to me. So if you want to move, do we want to move on to the car discussion now?
Yeah, is everybody okay with the budget review? Is there anybody has any questions, Mark?
Yeah, one quick question. Lloyd, do you have a final number or a current number on secondary students for the district?
I do not, as a matter of fact, Mark, and that's coming very soon. I know that some money has been encumbered. What both Jennifer and Lori are doing is, as soon as we get a bill in from a school, they're encumbering the whole year, not just that half year. So we'll have a better idea, but we're waiting for those invoices to come in. In my dream world, we could call and get those numbers, day 2 and encumber the money. But the reality is that the registrars are as overwhelmed as everybody else right now, as far as numbers are concerned. So, they're working on that as we speak.
Okay, thank you.
So then the second item, Lori, was to review the budget timeline.
Oh, right, yes. Was that sent out in the budget packet?
Yes.
Okay. Is that something, Matt, you could bring up?
Well, it's not happening right away. Matt, don't.
Yeah, we can come back to it. I mean, it's not.
Yeah, it's basically, we bought ourselves some extra time. So I believe, and I don't have it right in front of me because I didn't print it. I'm trying to save a tree maybe, but I believe we're going to start looking at budgets in December and try to finalize something at the end of January, beginning of February, kind of similar to what we've done in the past. You just said that, I think earlier, you're going to be meeting with the administrators, Tammy and Matt, to go over the budgets and start doing that. So I believe that what Bill told me was, or told us at the last executive committee meeting, was that he's going to try to have you come to like one meeting a month just to present this stuff, and if there's any questions. So I think that's basically it for the budget timeline. Unless, did everybody get to see it, or did anybody not get it?
It wasn't in the packet.
Oh. Okay, well, Matt, can you just get that sent around? Make sure it gets sent around, please, or Tammy, whoever has it. And it's some rough dates, and hopefully, everything. I think so. The first view of the budget's the 28th for WCSU, and Mark, you and Rick and are on that group, so we got to make sure we're there to review the budget. I believe Bill sent that budget out too. I've seen that budget, but I don't know if that was just the officers or Lori, if you know.
Yeah, that was just the officers. I believe we're on schedule to send that out. It'll be the superintendent's budget and the special ed budget on Friday for review before the 28th.
Okay. So then, Lori, the next thing you had was lease for the lunch program.
Yeah, so let me just state the challenge for the board. When you voted to combine the Wardsboro food program and the Dover food program under River Valleys, we had assumed that whoever we hired, maybe we could pay them mileage to run back and forth. And we've done that in the past, paid out mileage. Some people are very happy about that because it's a way they earn actually a little bit more money. But the vehicle in question is probably not going to last and not going to be very good through the winter. If I'm correct, Matt and Tammy, I think that the little bit of conversation I've had with Matt is just it's not going to be a viable option going forward. So I started looking into leasing a vehicle, which was a little bit more expensive than what we had showed you in the budget, but necessary. But in the meantime, there's another COVID grant. It's the CRF food program. There was a summer food program grant, and now there is a food program grant that has $4 million available. And one of the things that it is available for is capital assets, which a vehicle is a capital asset. So I've been in contact with Rosie at the child nutrition program at the AOE at the state level. And this qualifies because it qualifies under COVID because there is a potential risk of not being able to deliver food to either people that are doing remote learning or the schools. So back and forth between the schools. So in a COVID era where we have a lot of food insecurities with people, with students and with families, that this really does qualify for that. So there is the potential of buying a car outright and getting reimbursed for it at 100%. It is pre-approved. I have gotten the purchase of the car pre-approved. So there's a couple of issues. So I want to describe before I move on though, does anybody have any questions about how this came about or anything before I move on? Okay. So the couple of issues are if the board decides to go this route and not do a lease, because leases are not a qualified eligible cost, then it is a federal asset. So that car can only be used for the food program, it cannot be used for anything else. Okay, so that's important to note. There are rules around how it can be disposed of, and it has to be tracked. It's not so hard to track a car. Sometimes when we buy computers and things like that with federal funds, that gets a little hard to track those things. And it has to be disposed of properly or according to federal guidelines. So that is the reality of it. Of course, if you lease a vehicle, you don't have that. You can use the vehicle for whatever River Valley wants to use it for. The process going forward, the lease, I could basically get done within the next probably 2 weeks. The process for the car purchase is I would have to put it out to bid. There is a state bid list. Then there are some auto dealers on it, but unfortunately the closest one is about 2 hours away. And so for service, for picking up the vehicle, it's just not really, it's not a good option.
Lori, for service on a state bid vehicle, you don't have to bring it. You can bring it to any dealer.
Any dealer?
Yeah, you don't have to bring it. I mean, that's how we bought all our cruisers, were on state bid.
Okay.
So we go up to Burlington and pick them up. And even the Fords now are actually out of Montpelier, so you don't have to go as far, and then you can just bring it to any dealership
Okay, that's good to know.
dealer.
That's good to know. So that could be a potential possibility. Right now, I'm looking at, and I did get a quote. I didn't get to send it to you because it came in really late. I'm looking at a Jeep Renegade from Summit. Then the price they gave me with the rebates and all of that was $24,000, which includes rubber floor mats. So that is the question, and the question to the board is whether to direct me to move forward with either a lease or to move forward with a purchase. The risk involved in the purchase is that if they run out of the $4 million, then it will be prorated, but it will be probably 80% maybe would be reimbursed. When I find it hard to believe that they're going to spend the whole $4 million, but it's a possibility and it's a risk. So I need to let you know about that. The other piece of it is the usage. It can only be used for the food program. So
why don't we cover that first then? Do we want to lease or do we want to buy?
Okay.
So any discussion from any of the board members? Go ahead, Mark.
I just wanted to ask Matt and Tammy what other uses you'd have for the vehicle besides the lunch program.
Well, I can answer some of that while Matt comes on. We pay mileage to our secretary, sometimes go do deposits. We pay mileage to the janitors to go pick up materials. We used to take it to the dump. Matt, are you on yet?
Yeah.
Finish this up.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Occasionally, somebody will have to take a water sample up north to the lab or pick up something like that. But for the most part, those little things can be done, through reimbursing the employee. For the most part, the big need is the food program for sure.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else?
One more question for
Shoot.
for Lori. What kind of I'm assuming this would have to be a commercial lease, so what kind of rate would we be looking at?
So that's a great question. River Valleys doesn't have any real credit history yet. Now, you both had credit history as Wardsboro and Dover, but as River Valleys under the EIN number, you don't have really any credit history. So Wyndham Central would have to do the lease, and then it would be a bill back situation. We had to do the same thing for West River last year when I went to get a leased vehicle for their food program. What West River didn't have any credit history, so they wouldn't do it. It was no. It was, solid no. Right now, the lease, the last time I spoke with the dealer, the lease payment was around $325 a month. I was trying to get them down to 300. I haven't been successful yet, but I'm still working on it. And that was for 3 years, 10,000 miles.
I have
10,000
a
per
question.
year.
I'm sorry?
10,000 per year.
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead, Kate.
What is the anticipated mileage usage of a vehicle for the food service program versus like using it for everything? How many miles a year do you think we'd be looking at?
I think when I figured out the Dover to Wardsboro and back every day, at least once a day, I think I doubled it just in case. We were well within that 10,000. It was something like 9,000. I don't have the exact figure with me. As far as using the car more than that, I doubt the mileage would be very much. I don't think it would push it over the 10 if they used it for other things, from what Matt was just describing.
Yeah, actually, I think the food service mileage would be about 5,000 a year.
Yeah.
And I was gonna say, we don't pay that much in mileage every year in the budgets. I forget what it was, but at one time it was like less than 15 miles just for Dover.
So less than $1,000 or so for mileage payments.
Probably.
Okay.
I'd have to look, but yeah, so the payments would be about $4,000 a month. I mean, a year, sorry, for a lease for 3 years. And then of course you'd have to decide what to do after that. Whether to buy out the lease or keep leasing.
So Dwight, go ahead.
So is the mileage only just back and forth between the schools, or do they have to pick up supplies and other things with the vehicle?
Just back and forth between the schools, as far as I understand it to be.
Okay. Is there, do they give you what type of vehicle, or you can, it's pretty much good for any type of vehicle?
We can get any type of vehicle on a lease. The reason I went to get a quote from Summit was because I've done this leasing twice now. Once for this is the third time, and dealers do not want to deal with government entities. To be honest with you, it's a hassle for them. So.
And the purchase could be any vehicle?
Correct, any vehicle. That worked for the food program with the coolers in the back, etc.
Yeah, I think it'd be it might be, I drive an electric car, and that would be a perfect type of vehicle to save on energy usage. If you're just going back and forth between the two vehicles to plug in and just go back and forth. But that's my pitch for an electric car.
Yeah, I think, guys, before we, I mean, my for a Corvette, again, I think we got to make the first decision is are we going to lease or are we going to buy it outright?
Right.
And then we're going to just let the administration do their job and get us the best deal, however we determine to do that. Go ahead.
I move that we buy the vehicle outright.
Do we have a second? Kate shaking her head yes.
I'll second.
Second.
Nope.
Oh, we're going to give it to Kate.
Yeah, give it a Kate.
Okay.
Thank you.
So Mark moved to purchase a vehicle outright. Kate seconds it. Peter, are you good to move forward?
Aye. Roger
Aye,
that.
Captain. Okay, is there any discussion? Mark, you get first shot at discussing.
Yeah, I just want to say, it sounds like if we can get this in quickly, we've got a good chance of getting it 100% covered. At the end of the day, we have an asset rather than lease. And that seems to be a better deal for taxpayers, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, Kate, you get second comment.
I concur. It seems like at the end of the day, like if we're only spending less than $1,000 a year in mileage for other purposes, we might as well spend that $1,000 and have a vehicle outright just for the food program. That makes the most financial sense to me.
Okay, Dwight.
No,
You all
I think
good?
it makes perfect sense to purchase the vehicle. It's a shame you can only use it for that purpose, but it's still, even just for that purpose, it's worthwhile.
Well, and don't forget too, I mean, it has to be used for food service. So like somebody asked, if the food staff has to go to a training class, they probably take the vehicle. If they have to pick up supplies, they can take the vehicle. If we wind up having to deliver food instead of driving a school bus, a diesel school bus around, we can use that. So I mean, even with federal strings, sometimes those strings get a little twisted.
Okay.
If everybody's all, go ahead, Lori.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say and I should have been more specific. All of the things that Rich just said are absolutely part of the food program. So it's not just running back and forth between the school, but you're correct. So
The principal can't take it home to have a car to drive back and forth home. Unless, but he could take it home if he was going to be picking up bread, say down in Brattleboro on his way in or on his way home. You just want to be really careful. You don't want to be out drinking with the driver's ed car at the bar, because that's when you get in trouble.
Jesus. Okay.
And Matt never did that, but I think we know somebody who did.
What? Oh,
So if you guys are all set, then
I have one question.
go ahead, Laura. I'm sorry.
Do we need to have any kind of a limit here? A dollar limit?
I think
this
we've agreed,
motion?
we'll agree to buy it, and then we're going to talk about the purchase. So let's get.
Okay, got it,
The first question was lease or purchase.
got it.
Okay, so if everybody's good, all those in favor of buying it outright, say aye.
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 Sounds like the ayes have it. Boy, Mark, you're making some good motions. All your motions get approved. Okay, the ayes have it. Okay, so the second part of this is, what do we do for buying a vehicle? So again, we can micromanage and we can tell them what we want them to buy, or, we can instruct them, like Laura said, we can give them some guidelines, or we can just say, Lori, go ahead and do that. We meet again in a couple weeks if you want to present something to us, or if you want to move quicker. It's all up to the board. What does the board want to do? State bid, is usually pretty good. Cars, it's not as good as like tires or buying some other supplies. But the state gets a price from dealers for certain vehicles. You can get some options on those, but again, sometimes, like Lori said, dealers hate to deal with government entities because they're not making the kind of profit. They get like a little set fee. I know the Goodyear guy down in Brattleboro calls it giveaway prices, because on state bid you buy tires cheaper than he buys tires. But then he really gets you when you do a state bid on the mountain balance and new valve stems. So they always make it up somewhere, it seems like. Again, it's up to the board. My feeling would be that, we should give Matt and Tammy and Lori some leeway into what they have to do, and maybe Laura's idea of a budget amount would be good. Go ahead, Mark.
I was gonna basically say what you said, which is I think we should trust the administration to handle this as necessary.
So do you want to make a motion to that effect and put a dollar figure on it?
Lori, you said that your bid came in at 28,000 for that vehicle?
24 was the price they gave me. I did call around to get just as a comparison for tonight, like the same size, small SUV size. The Chevy Trax was 24 to 25,000. The Encore was 24 to 25,000, and the Ford Escape was 26 to 33,000. So I could look at the Subarus looked a little small to me, but I've been kind of depending on Matt's expertise on cars. So I don't care what I drive. So I'm,
The new Subaru is actually, and I don't know what it's called, but it's actually a good size. I came out last year. But that's besides the point. I will move that to give the administration permission to go ahead with a maximum of 30,000.
Do we have a second to that motion?
Second it.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to allow the administration to purchase a vehicle up to $30,000. Mark, you get first discussion.
Go forth and get a good vehicle, good price.
Laura?
Do we have at either of the buildings public charging?
No, we got a solar array though.
Yeah. Big save a lot of money.
Okay.
Hang on, Laura's got the Ford.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Laura.
So if I'll just leave that as something I hope that we're looking at in the future. Okay, and I think I'm good.
Okay, Dwight, did you have something, sir?
No, I just thanks, Laura. It's great. I'm just curious. You mentioned there's a bit of a risk in getting the grant. Can we get approved for that before we purchase, or do we have to buy it and hope for the best that we get approved for the grant? How does that work?
The application for the grant is due November 2nd. The conversations I've had already with the child nutrition program staff is that it is approvable. So it will be basically after November 2nd, I can put in the application. I probably will wait to purchase it until the application is actually in, but it has to be purchased before December 31st too, so.
Kate, did you have something else? Peter, are you all good with the motion and what we're voting on?
Authorize expenditure up to $30,000 for purchase of a vehicle for the food service program.
Cool. Okay, you guys ready to vote?
Yes.
No objections? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It appears as though the ayes.
I'm an aye.
Oh, sorry, a late
Sorry.
eye coming in. That's a lazy eye.
Hey,
Hey, all those in, it appears as though the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Go forth and buy us a car. I want a red one.
The one I have a quote on is white, sorry.
Oh,
Red gets pulled over more often.
Well, I'm trying to ask them what they have on their lot that they want to get rid of, right? That's when you get the
Yeah.
best deals, so that's what it is.
But, and it does have to go out to bid, right?
oh,
It's-
Yes, I do have to put it out to bid if we don't go with the state bid process.
But the state bid allows you not to go to bid.
Correct.
Okay, well, go forth, get us the best deal. I'd love to haggle on cars if you want me to go with you.
I actually enjoy it too, so.
Okay, plan for payables. Go ahead, Lori.
Just really quickly, there, without meeting in person, there's sometimes when payables get delayed, and there are certain things that need to be paid on time, or we get a service charge, interest, that type of thing. It also doesn't help our credit when those types of things happen. So what I'm asking the board is that if there are any items, payable items that would incur a late charge if not paid by a certain date, and the board meeting doesn't happen to fall in that, is permission to go ahead and send those out. It will be included in the payable as part of the package, but the check will have already been sent out.
So Lori, we appoint 2 people on the board to sign in between meetings. So I have not received a call. I've been not told that I need to go sign anything. So just, if you need something signed, just let me know and I'll come over and sign it. We've set that up, and that's why we have board members. I mean, I don't know if they don't do it in other schools, but we've done it a lot in Dover. So if you need that, I don't remember who the second person is, but I think it's somebody from the Wardsboro way, so we could cover it on either side if we had to.
Okay, so I'm just putting that out there, that there has been a couple of late payments, and so that was my solution to that happening. We did that over in West River as well, and a lot of it has to do with the fact of that the board, the AP packet is not necessarily going to a board meeting to be reviewed. Rich has been doing that a lot, reviewing that and signing off on them, but so, okay, as long as I can just call and say, this is going to be late, come sign it.
Yeah, well, just don't call me after it's late. I mean, we know it's due a couple days before, and don't expect me to shoot right over in 30 seconds, but I like excuses to get out of Dover.
Got it.
Cool. Is everybody okay with that? And that is one of the reasons why we set that up. Go ahead, Mark.
Well, I was gonna suggest that that you set up a DocuHub or a DocuSign account so you can do it electronically. But then you said you wanted to get out of Dover, so never mind.
Yeah, and believe me, a DocuSign, it took me like 2 days to get something signed just recently through DocuSign.
You're supposed to call me when that happens.
Lori occasionally will bring you like cookies too. Is that everybody good? Okay, so Lori, I'm gonna ask you to do one more thing,
Okay,
and then if you need to take off, you can, if you want to get to West River.
I have to go to West River.
Yeah, so just the only other thing is approve previous accounts payable act. Care of that for you?
Sure. So I did send that to both of you and Matt. The last AP run, it could have, I would actually like to do the last 2 AP runs. I'm not sure that the last 2 have been approved by the board in total. I could be wrong. I didn't have time to look through the minutes to see what had been approved to date. But I know the last one needs to be approved. And
We approved the large one at the last meeting. It's like
you did?
400 or
Yeah.
400,
Okay,
600,000.
all right, so it's probably just the last one. I don't know if Matt, can you bring that up? Thank you.
So Lori, while he's bringing that up, I had asked at the last meeting about a couple of statement fees. Were those the late fees that that you're referring to?
Right,
Okay.
yep. Okay, so I think that the last one was the 614 on 10.5. Did
Yep.
you approve that one?
We did.
Okay. All right, then I guess you don't need to approve any of the others. Because these are payroll, so that's already approved. Okay, sorry, I thought that one needed to be approved.
No, sounds good.
Okay,
So does anybody have anything for Lori
I
before
do.
it goes to West River?
I do.
Go ahead, Laura.
And apologies for not putting this in front of anybody beforehand, but actually just wanting to put it down. With the number of new students and new families that we have in the area, and not knowing when that may or may not, it seems it'll be a good idea to get back moving on our web discussion. I think there's an opportunity here to, we've got a bunch of folks that are here, can help us understand what would help them. The schools are usually the first, one of the first stops, right? Schools are for the town offices for new families. So I would like to see us at a minimum, making sure that we're talking about that for budget, but based on where we are at this year, if there's any way to prioritize that, maybe have a discussion about that at a subsequent meeting.
So is that specific to Lori or is that like,
Well, it's gonna cost us money, so.
yeah, and I think got
That's
a
all.
bunch of pricing and some ideas. We didn't put in the budget last year, but we can add it to the budget, talk about it for the budget this year that we're gonna do, though. We'll start July 1st, or, we can see how we look in April, May, and if we want to spend that money, what's going on with COVID and stuff, we could decide then to, or you can decide to vote on it now, but I would say that we probably, we should probably warn it as an item, because Mark, it was like in the 20,000, right?
I think the one that we ultimately decided on, Matt, I don't know if maybe you remember, I don't have the paperwork in front of me. I think it was a 16 to 20,000 range. Because of COVID and all those expenses, that just didn't seem like something we were ready to do at that moment in time.
That's my recollection, Mark, as
Yeah.
well.
definitely not asking to have it done tonight, but I would like to see us have a discussion about it, if possible, at the next meeting. And I wanted to put it on the radar because I heard that Lori and Tammy and Matt were going to be talking about budgets soon.
So I'm still a little confused. Do you want to try to do it this year, like put it on the next agenda to spend now? Or do you want to have it put on the budget for next year? You moved.
I would like us to have it on the agenda for next meeting to see if it appears that it would be possible to do it this year. If Lori and Matt and Tammy have any sense of that. And then if the answer was, well, it might be possible, then I would expect we would come back at a subsequent another meeting with, you know, trying to move forward. And if not, I would just like to make sure that we're prioritizing that in our budget. I think it's really, really key.
So two things, we won't have Lori at our next meeting, we'll have Bill. So if you want Lori involved, we'd have to be the second meeting in November. And we can just have Peter put that in the minutes, and then I review the minutes before I do the before we do the agenda. So which do you want to go, Laura?
I'm fine. I am fine with it being Lori or Bill, unless Lori says it should be Lori.
No, I think either one of us can probably answer your questions. Can I ask a clarifying question to your question? If I think that the discussion was basically derailed because of COVID expenses, is that my understanding? And so if you knew that most of your COVID expenses were going to be covered in this budget, would that change the conversation?
Can I just weigh in? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Hang on, let
Yeah.
Laura.
So I would be interested in knowing that, and the things that would be important to me are some sense of from the central office about where we're likely to end up, what the, you know, kind of what the what your confidence is in that, and what the biggest risk is for that.
Okay.
You good, Laura?
Yep, I am. Thanks, Rich.
Mark, do you have something more for Lori, or can we?
I was just gonna, I was sort of gonna answer Lori's question, but I think Lori took care of it, so.
Okay, the one thing I would say, Lori, is that, yeah, we kiboshed it because it wasn't in the budget. And we didn't know where we were gonna end up. We weren't having a school, and there's a lot of expenses, and I would still kind of feel uncomfortable because, we still have a lot of year to go. And remember, this all didn't kick us in the butt till February, end of February, beginning of March. So, until there's a vaccine and everything sugars out, I don't think anybody can with any predictability say what's going to happen. If they are, I'd like to know who it is, because I'd like to see their crystal ball. But so is everybody good? We can wave goodbye to Lori, let her go to the next meeting, which will be less fun than ours.
Bye, everybody. Have a
Thank
nice
you, Lori.
evening.
Thank you, Lori.
Hey, Matt, under old business, Bill isn't here. Can you I don't see, where did Tammy go? Oh, Tammy's still here. Can you guys talk about your ventilation system updates?
Yes, I think we can.
So go ahead.
So in your packet of documents that Bill sent out, there's a RVUSD HVAC update from October 13th. And it looks like you've got the three phases, the preventative maintenance servicing for phase 1, phase 2 air testing, phase 3 upgrades. Tuesday, September 29th, Alliance Mechanical started at Dover, and they've been working on wiring and capturing control of all the HVAC units and the unit ventilators and the heat valves and all the blower fans. They have been doing wiring steady since then. They've got the big thing is they've installed the unit controller already. So the main control system has been installed and is programmed and up and running. 2 or 3, I think, classrooms are now under the control of the new system, which is accessible through its very own website. It's really a nice system. I've seen it, and I've seen a few of these systems before, and it's really awesome. The tech and I were nerding out on it for a little while. It looks like the controls in Dover, the wiring will continue for all spaces over the next few weeks. Alliance will be performing some preventative maintenance and servicing as they go through the units, and they're installing controls. There is a new ERV and rooftop exhaust fans that have been ordered. The expected ship date is not until December 9th. The rooftop exhaust fans are expected to ship on November 30th. Tammy, do you want me to read the thing about Wardsboro as well?
Sure.
So it says Wardsboro, the new ERV and cassette wheels have been ordered. Cassette wheels. Alliance will be sending a proposal for isolation room exhaust and repairing ductwork in 1 bathroom. From the Efficiency Vermont viewpoint on ASHRAE standards, this is a note. It says the 6 air changes per hour recommendations came from ASHRAE's design guidance for new construction projects. If WCSU were building a new building, they would want to design their HVAC system for at least 6 air changes per hour. While we focus on improving indoor air quality this year, it certainly makes sense to maximize the air exchange rate where practical and feasible. However, achieving 6 air changes per hour with existing HVAC systems may not be practical, in which case it makes sense to focus on the first priority specified by both ASHRAE and Harvard, which is ventilation. I think that's it. Do you want to add anything, Tam?
I think you've covered it.
You read us the story very well, Matt. Thank you. Is there any questions about the buildings? Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, I apologize. My battery was about to die. I had to run and get a charger. Matt, I heard you say something about some classrooms are now usable under the controls in Dover, but I didn't hear the number that you said.
So at this point, we have, I think, 2 or 3, Mark, and there are still parts that are remaining to be installed, such as the louver controls and some of the actuators, but they were able to pull up a couple of the classrooms on the software, and you can pull the whole view of the unit ventilator up, and it shows you air temperature in, air temperature out, water temperature through, louver position, percentage of fresh air. All of that is computerized and very, very user-friendly in terms of the controls. I was very impressed with it.
Great. And last question, the ERV has a ship date of 12/9. Do you know whether the engineers anticipate being able to get that installed before the
I don't know.
end of the year?
We did suggest that they may have to shovel the roof at that point, but they seemed willing.
They're probably used to that.
Is there any other questions for Matt or Tammy about the ventilation? And how are those portable units going for you guys? Just, are they doing everything that we were hoping they would do?
The HEPA filters,
Yeah.
they're great. Very much appreciated. They're color coded so you can see when the air quality is really good. And then they change throughout the day depending upon, what's going on. If we open up the windows, if it's a dry day, sometimes there's particles in the air. So it will change to like a orange or a red color. So they've been very good, I would say.
Good.
Very helpful.
Thank you. Good, Matt. Thanks. Executive Committee weekly meeting update. We didn't meet last week. Bill had something come up, so we're supposed to meet this week on Wednesday, so there's no update there. Lunch program update. Matt or Tammy, when do you want to speak to that?
I guess I don't have any updates. Things remain to be going very well. I would love for Matt to, pass on our appreciation. The kids seem to really like the food. So if you can pass that along to Bob and the staff, that would be great. It's been running really seamlessly from our end. I think today some lunches were left behind. So there was the frantic run over the hill, which worked out fine. It was, lunch was a couple minutes late and the kids got a couple of extra minutes of recess. So it all worked out good.
That's good. Cool. Any questions from anybody on that? Okay, moving to Transportation Committee update. I think, Matt, at the last meeting, there was a transportation request and you guys were still waiting on some input, but our road commissioner's gone to Happy Trails and we got a new one. So have you gotten your answers or?
Yep, we got our answers and the new bus stop was approved. I haven't actually seen where the bus stop is. I think it's over near Butterfield Common, but it's the group that knows the area was in support of the safety aspects of the stop. So we made the stop.
Okay. There's no questions on that. I think, Dwight, you took care of the communications from our October 5th hearing, or you worked with central office and that got sent out, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
And Matt or Tammy, we had heard anything back on that?
I did speak to that parent recently. I'd have to give you an update in executive session, I think, Rich, as a student matter.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to make sure they got it and that we've done our job.
Yes, I believe the answer is yes, they have received your letter.
Okay, perfect. That was all we have for old business unless anybody else has anything. Okay, seeing nobody getting too excited and jumping up and down. New business, we covered the first two items. Principal's report, other than what you guys gave us for the meeting on the 5th, is there anything new either one of you like to tell us, or we all good there?
There's always stuff to tell. You guys want to hear stuff?
I do. Yes.
All right, I can go. I have a couple notes that I wrote down. So we had an outdoor visit from the Southern Vermont History Museum, socially distanced in front of the school. Mike, who works at the museum, brought several animals for the kids to see. And I just wanted to point out that it was just a nice change of pace from our day-to-day operations. Last Tuesday, we had our first parent-teacher conferences of the school year. It was the first time we held them virtually. And we actually had a 94% participation rate, which is, I would say, very high. So we're very pleased with that. Interventions have been put in place based on current data from the fall benchmarks, and that's going very well with our support from the academic support team. Last Monday, we welcomed a couple of new students, as well as some students who switched over from remote learning to in-person learning. And I just want to point out that I want to commend the teachers. It definitely was a lot of extra work and preparation for getting ready for the new students because, it is just a lot of work to get ready. We had to move in some new desks, we had to put in some new tables, and I really appreciate the extra efforts that they put in for that. I also want to add that the cold and flu season is upon us. Jen and I have been working closely with the school nurse and the COVID coordinator regarding health questions, basically on a daily basis. And I'm very, very grateful and thankful for the extra layer of support that we have gotten from the school nurse on this, because as you know, it is not my area of expertise, and Jen is not trained she's not a trained health professional either. So just wanted to point that out. And then in addition, families are beginning to travel. As you all know, the travel map is getting smaller, forcing people to follow the quarantine guidelines. So while students are set up for remote learning, there is definitely some preparation for the teachers that's involved with that. Just switching in between in-person and student-supported learning at home, which has created a couple of challenges for us. So I just wanted to point those out. Overall, operations are going smoothly though. That's all I've got.
I'm sorry, I was muted. Matt, you all good? Or you?
Yeah, I can just echo what Tammy said. I think on every front, I would add we had 11 students return from remote learning to in-school learning last week, which was nice. We had 2 new students arrive as well on Friday. We've had the Hildene Nature Program scheduled for next week to bring some additional science materials down. And I just learned last week that our PE teacher has won the award from the Shape Vermont organization as PE Teacher of the Year. So we're really excited about that and proud of Wendy Johnson, who earned that well-deserved honor. There will be an event for her and the other recipients on Wednesday night. Other than that, fully remote parent conferences was new for us this year. That was fun and interesting and exciting. And as Tammy said, we are really excited to get our hands on the fall benchmark data and start getting to dig a little deeper and working with students on a very individual level in terms of getting at, addressing some very specific needs. So yeah, it's nice to be back to work.
Any questions for Matt or Tammy? Go ahead, Mark.
So this might be a multi-part question in regards to the flu shots specifically. 1, are we requiring students to have flu shots? 2, at one point we talked about possibly running clinics at the schools to vaccinate students and staff. Is that something that you guys have talked about?
I don't mind taking that one, Tammy. We did talk about this with our nurse, and there is no requirement for flu vaccines, Mark, at this point. So we are not requiring a vaccine. Although our nurse was quite interested in running a clinic at the schools, what she found was we would need to be sponsored by an organization, and it got a little big in scope for what we were looking at for numbers. Try to duplicate the effort of a clinic in our small area. So we let that wish go for now and hope that people will find their flu vaccines in the many other places they can get them this fall.
If I could get a sponsor for that, would you guys be interested?
I definitely would. I would want to put you in touch with our nurse, and I think she would be interested too.
Okay.
The same
I will
goes
be in
for
touch.
Wardsboro, Mark.
What was that?
I said the same goes for Wardsboro. We would be interested.
We'll be in touch with both of you.
Thank you.
Anybody else with questions on the principal's reports? No, I see some head shaking no. So,
Thank you.
oh, go ahead, Laura.
I just wanted to say thank you for all the work you all are doing.
You're welcome.
Capacity considerations. I think this was brought up in the superintendent's cabinet report, or I don't remember if it was brought up at the executive committee meeting, but with there's been some concern there's been a lot of new students And I know that we've been really lucky, but we always joke that, you know, we can, if we could pick and tell get the students into certain grades, it would be a lot better than having 20 new students moving in that are in 5th grade. How are we doing with new students in capacity and in classrooms?
So you're exactly right, Rich, when it comes to that. For Wardsboro, due to, you know, CDC guidelines and the distancing in our pre-K, K, and 1st and 2nd grade classrooms, we are either at or very, very near capacity for those 2 classrooms. However, in grades 3, 4, 5, and 6, we're wide open.
So do some promoting real quick.
Exactly, right?
Is there a possibility, and again, if it does become a capacity issue, I mean, are there any parents that are going to the Wardsboro school? Do we have the capacity in the Dover school building to, you know, to ask if anybody have any interest in finishing out the year there to utilize that? Or I know at one time Wardsboro used to hold kindergarten at the town offices. And is that a possibility if we need to do that or look into an alternate site? And if that is something we need to start to consider, you know, should we at least see if we can make arrangements or should we start researching that, or is it not quite yet time to get nervous?
I don't think at this point it is time to get nervous. Bill, Matt, and I did meet and we came up with some options to consider. You know, some creative solutions we came up with is, you know, possibly enrolling at the other school, like you mentioned, offering enrollment as a student-supported home study student. This isn't ideal, but possibly moving to an A-B model where the students came on Monday or a certain segment of students came on, you know, say Monday and Tuesday, and the other portion of the students came on Thursday and Friday. We talked about possibly, you know, like you said, splitting the class. We do have another space that we could use to branch off, like you're suggesting with, you know, located at the school, if we wanted to branch off, say, the part of the pre-K program or the kindergarten program. So we're not there yet, but I think it's a good conversation for all of us to have, especially considering the influx of new students at both schools.
So I guess then why don't we just, Tammy, if you, because it seems to be more in your building, but Matt, if you also notice it too, why don't you guys just let me know and we can get that back on the agenda. But for now, I guess we can take it off. Is everybody on the board good with that? Go ahead, Mark.
I just want to say if we are now or in the future going to be looking for alternate sites, like Rich mentioned, let's make sure that we've got proper ventilation studies from those sites. I know that another district not too far from here is using a firehouse where the room that they're in has actually a lot less circulation in it than their buildings. So that's something we need to be aware of.
Dwight, you have something, sir?
Yeah, just a quick question. You guys mentioned that there's perhaps some students that are coming off of remote learning. You also have some new students. Can you tell us the total numbers in the schools and compared to the start of the year, and how many, you know, are actually continuing with remote learning compared to where we started this process? Or is that in the report that I didn't read? Sorry.
Dwight, I can tell you in Dover, we started with about 70 students in person and about 40 students in remote learning. And we gained about 11 students back. So, you know, take 10 away, add 10 to those groups. So about 80 kids in the building now, and about 30 kids remain in remote at the moment.
So at Wardsboro, we started with, I believe, 44 students total, 38 in person. with the remainder learning remotely. As of today, we have, I believe, 46 students with 5 learning remotely. And then we're gaining 2 more students on Monday, I believe. For a total of 48.
Thank you, guys. That's great.
You know, I think it's something we'll need to just pay attention for. I think maybe Mark said it earlier, you know, that, or Tammy maybe, that, you know, there's more states that we have to be concerned about. You know, the free travel states are getting fewer and fewer. And then if things start to ramp up, I saw like in Boston, they shut some schools down there because they had an agreement with the teachers if the positive cases went up 4% or more than. So, you know, there, and again, there's still a lot of second homes that people aren't living in full time yet. So we could see, you know, we could see some increase. So we're not going to put it in there, but if either one of you have an issue, definitely let me know and we'll get it on the agenda. Hey, Matt, going back real quick, and Tammy, just give me a thumbs up. Can I take, you know, we've had the lunch program update there for a while because, you know, we had a little sputter in the beginning. Are we good? Just take that off old business. And then you guys tell us if there's something that goes on. And then the superintendent's cabinet report, I believe we had that at the last meeting. So I'm not sure if I put that on. Was there something that somebody wanted to discuss with that? Was there something we missed or any questions? Or had he not gotten it out to us by then?
No, we had it at the last meeting.
Okay, so that was a mistake. Sorry about that, folks. The next thing I had was the VEHI proxies. Mark was right. VSBA is the Vermont School Board Insurance Trust, and we at Wyndham Central we have we get a proxy for that meeting, and I think Mark, we appointed you the proxy, didn't we, for that to vote on that?
That's correct. The meeting's tomorrow at 3 o'clock.
Okay, so we also have VEHI, which is Vermont.
Oh, I thought you were talking about VEHI. I'm sorry.
No,
Dan,
I was talking about VSBA.
that's Dan. I'm VEHI.
Oh, okay, you're VEHI, Dan is VSBA. So we don't get another VSBA vote, but we do get a VEHI vote as an individual district because we employ people that are part of the health insurance. We also get a vote at Wyndham Central. So we have 2 proxies. If I can, so Mark will be attending the meeting, so we can appoint Mark as our proxy to vote. So he'll be very powerful. He'll have 2 votes tomorrow. People will be whining and dining him and wanting him to vote their way. It's kind of really just we get 2, one for the dental side and one for the health side. So if nobody has an issue, I'd love to entertain a motion for somebody to appoint Mark is our proxy for River Valley's Unified School District for the VEHI Dental and VEHI Health.
Moved.
So Laura moved. Do we have a second? Kate?
8 seconds.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? Peter, you all set for us to move forward and vote?
Yes, sir. That would be appoint Mr. Schauber as proxy for VEHI,
And for VEHI Dental and VEHI Health.
dental and health. Yes, thank you.
Okay. So all those in favor say aye.
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 It sounds like we have a unanimous vote. The vote does pass. Congratulations, Mark. You get to vote twice, and you're not in Chicago.
Woohoo. Actually, I get to vote 4 times.
Ooh, that's even better. So, I have no other new business unless anybody else did. Did I missed anything? No. Rick's smiling. He's happy. So we're right back on time, guys. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 policies that Mark and Kate would like to talk to us about. First one is equity policy, C29, action. So I believe we voted to post that. Now we have to adopt it. So
Correct.
is there anybody like to make a motion to adopt policy C29?
Move we adopt policy C29.
Okay, Laura moved. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Dwight seconds it. Peter, are you good with that?
Roger that.
Okay, any discussion? Tammy and Matt, it has been posted, correct? You're supposed to show me the pinhole in the corner where it was posted. Okay, there's no discussion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Sounds as though the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Policy C29 equity is now adopted. This one says C10P, prevention of harassment, hazing, and bullying procedures. We don't adopt procedures. Is that, am I missing something?
Yeah, this is just a file naming issue, as is C35. I'm working with Meg on getting those named properly. That's all those two are.
We're not going to have to readopt them or anything?
Nope.
Okay, so you're just letting us know.
Correct.
Okay. So then I will move on to policy B8, electronic communication between employee and students. We don't currently have a policy. This required policy and recommends board adopt the policies provided by the VSBA. So can somebody make a motion to, well, we'll have to post it first, right? Because we don't have it.
Correct.
Rick shaking his head. You want to make that motion, Rick? Okay, I believe he's saying yes, he'll make the motion. I think. Give me,
Or I'll make the motion.
okay, to post policy B8, electronic communications. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Mark seconds it. So discussion, Rick, Mark, Kate, anybody?
Only if there are questions.
Rick, you all good?
I'm all good on this one.
Kate, any comments as policy committee person?
None.
Are you guys all ready to vote then? All those in favor of posting policy B8, signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I believe the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Peter, you good with that one? You're all caught up?
Oops. Yep.
Okay. Next one is on policy C3. Transportation. Committee recommends no changes. The only change is the addition of the word school district in a number of places, and they've been added in the revision. So again, I need a motion to post. Oh, I'm sorry. This is just a review. So on this one, we can actually just vote that we've reviewed and there are no changes other than some grammatical changes or some formatting changes. And we can just, we don't have to repost it. We can just readopt it.
So moved.
Okay, so Mark moves to readopt policy C3 transportation. Do I have a second from somebody?
Second.
8 seconds. Or
Okay, Laura
ahead, Laura.
seconded. And is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 I got a question. Are we reviewing this or re-adopting it? I haven't heard of.
No, we're reviewing it and not making any major changes. So we just note there's usually another box underneath that just says review.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just got messed up on the language when I think somebody along the way said re-adopt.
Oh, I said that, and that was a bad term for me to use.
Yeah, I wasn't looking. So we're reviewing this and it just gets in there and we're going to throw a date on the top that we reviewed it.
Yes, and we all
Excellent.
agreed that it was good and there were no changes needed.
Awesome. Then you got my eye.
Okay. I believe I have all of your eyes, at least one of them. Okay, appears so the ayes have it. So that policy has been reviewed. Peter, I'm sorry, I forgot to ask you, are you good with that C3 one?
Yep.
Okay. C4, English learners. The committee recommends updating the title and content in the most updated from the VSBA. And it is changed. This one has quite a few changes. So this is probably one we should post again. Is that correct, Mark and Kate?
That would be at least my opinion, because the change is pretty substantive and includes language on immigrants now.
Okay, so do we have a motion to post the updated C4 English learners?
Motion to post that we post the updated C4 for English learners.
And do I have a second to that?
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Peter, you all good for us to vote?
Actually, Rich, I've got a
Yeah,
question.
Okay, Mark, hang on one sec. Peter, you're good for us to vote if Mark's question goes.
Yep.
Okay, go ahead, Mark.
So this is just going to replace the existing C4. We don't have to undo the original C4?
No,
Okay, thank you.
that's why we're reposting it. If there's significant changes, then it should be reposted to give people a look. If you're just correcting some grammar issues or clarifying the district versus the school, then those aren't major. It doesn't change the intent of the policy. I think this policy's got enough changes in it that it just needs to be posted. And it's the changed one that will go in the book, not the old one.
All right, thank you.
So is everybody good and ready to vote? All those in favor, please signify so by saying aye.
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 Sounds like it's a unanimous vote. The vote is unanimous. Motion is carries. C4 will be posted. So Matt and Tammy and Peter, just make sure that we have those two we're going to need to just at the next meeting after they've been posted to vote on to adopt them.
Yes, I've been putting warned in the motions.
Okay, thank you. C11, student freedoms of expression in school-sponsored media. We don't currently have this required policy, and the recommendation from the committee is that we adopt this policy as provided by the VSBA. So could somebody move that on the floor for us?
I move that we warn C11 student freedom of expression in school-sponsored media.
Again,
Okay, so Mark moves it. Laura, you second it.
yeah.
Discussion from anybody? Everybody good with it? Ready to vote? Okay. all
Have
the-
school-sponsored media?
Sorry, go ahead.
Do
Rick.
we have any school-sponsored media, Matt and Tammy?
So when we reviewed this with the committee, we were thinking of school newsletters or video productions and as an opportunity for students to be published. We at the moment do not have a regular newsletter that students can be published in. So it really doesn't apply to much. Tammy, do you have a publication that kids can be published in that's part of the school?
No, not at this time.
So it
So
seems
the
to,
dissection policy then.
yeah, like a dissection policy.
Good. I just want to make sure.
Well, let me throw a monkey wrench in this then. Last year, we wound up having a hearing with a parent who had a child who wrote a letter to the paper that the parent didn't agree with. To me, that's a school-sponsored media because it was a school project. and they access the media or not.
We talked about that, and because that was published in a public newspaper, not in a school media, this policy would not have applied in that case.
Okay, thank you. As long as it was flushed out. You guys are happy? So we have a motion and a second. Does anybody need to remember what the motion is, or you're all good to vote?
To go.
You're good, Laura?
Yep.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 And any opposed? Sounds as though the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Moving right along. C20, student conduct and discipline. We do not currently have this recommended policy, and the recommendation of the policy committee is that it be adopted as provided by VSBA. Can we get a motion to move that onto the floor?
So moved.
Laura, do I have a second?
Second.
Mark seconds it. Peter, you all good?
Aye, sir.
So we're voting on this one again to warn this one. Is there any discussion from anybody?
So I just want to comment quickly that C20 along with C5 would make up, encompass all weapons that could possibly be currently conceivably used or brought to school.
Okay. Any other comments? Everybody all good?
Guess my only comment would be, why are we calling this student conduct and discipline? I mean, conduct just doesn't seem like the right word to me, personally. I mean, there's a lot of things that the word conduct conjures up in my mind. Weapons is not one of them.
Yeah.
I'm just not thinking a knife when somebody says that's poor conduct. And I don't mean to drag this out. It just seems like a very poor heading.
I'd be happy to ask the VSBA for you why they named it that.
Yeah, that just seems awful.
No, I'll ask.
I think it's a kinder, gentler title there, Rick.
Okay.
I don't know, but yeah, Mark, we can still,
Conduct is nebulous.
and we can vote to post it and warn it.
Mhm.
And then we can also change it next time as long as, I think a title change, or if we added something to it, that's not a major change, but I don't know, Mark, maybe you can find out and ask them that question too.
Yep. I should be able to get an answer within a few days or sooner.
Yeah.
That would be great. Thank you, Mark.
No
Would
problem.
you be comfortable, Rick, moving the vote forward to warn it? And
To warn it, yes, I would be comfortable, but I would like a better explanation as to why the word conduct was used.
Peter, did you get that in the minutes so we make sure that we have that discussion next meeting?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is there any other comments or questions, thoughts from anybody? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Sounds like it's a unanimous vote. The vote is unanimous, so that will be warned, but we will get some more information from our policy people. Good job, guys. That was a bunch of policies. Go ahead, Tammy.
Peter, can you just read through the list of those that need to be warned?
Well, no, we're gonna have to, the ones that we're gonna vote to approve are gonna be the B8,
Okay,
the C3, the C4, C11, and C20. I'm sorry, C3 we're not doing. C3 was okay. And C4 was the English learners. Is that correct?
And C11 and C20.
Yeah. Did I not say those at the end?
You might have, you muted out on me for a minute.
So there's 4 altogether, correct?
Yes.
You good with that, Tammy?
I am, and then I just had a question for Mark. When is the next policy meeting? Did you set a date? I couldn't make the end of the meeting, so.
Yep, we did. I was going to ask if I can make 2 announcements about the policy committee. Can I do that, Rich?
Yeah,
So first, November 13th at 9 a.m. via Zoom. And the second announcement is the VSBA has released another new policy, came out just a couple days ago, C13, homeless students, which we will be looking at our November 13th meeting.
Mark, why don't you just take 2 minutes, you and Kate? So you actually wrote something up, what your recommendation was, that you guys were gonna try to review so many a month, and you're gonna start reviewing them, and then just if anybody has any questions about that.
Yeah, I don't have the notes in front of me, but we're gonna try to work through 2 or 3 policies a month. We're starting with the policies under the student heading. Quite honestly, I don't remember what the order was going from there. Kate, if you have that in front of you, maybe you can jump in.
I believe we were going to start with safety, things that had to do with the safety of students first and foremost, and then move forward.
Do you have that list of the order that we're doing those 5?
No.
I can
Nope.
pull it up. It's in the board package, the minutes, but
If we've got it, Mark, that's fine. I just didn't know,
Okay.
So people understand what you guys are doing.
and we're gonna meet the second Friday second Friday every month at 9 a.m. Unless you hear otherwise from us.
Okay, so anybody have any questions, comments, thoughts? Thank you for taking that on, guys. It makes it go a lot quicker than us beating it up at a board meeting. So, and thank you, Matt and Tammy, for participating also. I have on the next item is, let's skip a little bit. Our next meeting is October 28th for WCSU. We do budget compensation and the superintendent evaluation. And then November 2nd, at 6 p.m. is our next River Valley's Unified School District Board meeting. Is there anything I missed? Any announcements? Mark got voted into the VSBA from Southern Vermont. So we have at Wyndham Central, not only do we have 3 legislators on the board, 3 or 2 now, 2 I think. But we also have both the VSBA representatives, voted in representatives are from Wyndham Central. So it's something really cool. So good job, guys.
The VSBA annual meeting is the 29th of October. You can still register on the front page of the VSBA website.
Okay. Everybody good? So Matt, I think I would like to entertain a motion to move into executive session just for an update on a student issue that we met and discussed a couple meetings ago.
So moved.
And well, hang on, Matt, do you have anything else? For Tammy, you guys all good? Okay, so Mark moved, and do I have a second?
8 seconds.
Okay, Mark moved, Kate seconded. At 7:50 p.m. All in favor, say aye.
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 Sounds unanimous. Peter, Matt, we're not going to be making a decision, so Peter doesn't need to come back in, does he? If Peter, I'll just email you what time we get out and any motions.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for tonight. Rich, you want to come back when we come back out of executive session?
Please.
Okay. Amelia, do you want to come back in?
I think I'll be okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate it. Good luck. Boot everybody out except for you and Tammy and the board.
Okay, bye.
Thank you, Peter.
Okay, I've got Rich still. Rich, you want me to boot you out, buddy? You need a minute.
Please.
No, I'm all set. You're gonna let me back in, right?
Yeah, go ahead and reconnect to the meeting. I'm going to enable the waiting room.
Okay.
And so you can reconnect and then we'll let you in when we come out.
Good. Thank you.
Ironically, we'll let you in when we come out.
We're going to-